Ya está. Welcome. Good evening to all our listeners. Tonight we will have a very special interview with our guest, the architect Kengo Kuma. The architect Kengo is one of the great figures of architecture worldwide and author of the Opera House in Granada, Spain, as well as many others. Part of the Kengo architect team is Miss Daniela Bojalil, uh, an official translator for Mr. Kengo Kuma. We thank you in advance for your participation with us, Daniela. It's a pleasure to have you with us, architect.
Thank you, Gustavo. It's a pleasure for me and Architect Kuma to be here with you.
Thank you. Well, I wanna start with the questions, if it's okay for
Sure.
you. All right. One of his most famous buildings, the Water Glass, he designed with the Hyuga. Sorry, it's correct. Can you
Yes, the
correct
Hugo.
the Hyuga? Sorry. In mind, the only building, the Bruno Taut. Bruno Taut or Bruno Taut?
Tout.
Taut. Perfect. Thank you. Constructed in Japan. You
That's
share
right.
with Taoud the concept for the relationship between architecture and nature, but he interprets the question differently. Do you think the architect should always reinterpret the same themes?
Okay, well, I think that one of the most important goals of architecture is that also in the 20th century we have forgotten other objectives. And today it seems that if you do not resolve the question of the reinterpretation, it is as if you did not do architecture. And Hugo was a pioneer of dueling. I visited her and I was impressed. It was when I was designing my water house, and that discovery is reflected in my work.
Wow. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Well, the second question is, should architecture also be reinterpret from the material point of view? Tell of instead of stone?
Well, the worst of the architecture of the past has always been the limit in the materials that we used to work with. And well, very few have been worked with concrete, with steel, with brick and glass, and materials are one of the essence of the architecture, possibly one of the most important and interested for me.
Okay.
I believe that the new materials make new experiences possible.
All right. I'm agree with you. Well, the third question is, do you think that the impression and sensation that a building chaos depends more on the materials than on other aspects more valued by most architects, such as space or light?
Well, for me, yes, because the material is critical and essential for the personification of its architecture. But other architects may express that they prefer the sensation that the building provokes on the persons.
Well, my short question is why? Why do you think that?
Because I think that the human body is also a material and it can be shaped in many forms and as the architecture too.
All right, I appreciate your comment. That well, but if the human body is also a form for you?
Sure, but the form varies with people. The material is the same. We are not all the same. It changes.
All right, all right, that makes sense for me. Well, my next question is: you usually choose only one material for each building. Why do you limit yourself? Why this kind?
Well, we're trying to look for intense experiences. The variety of materials in a building wakens its experience and impacts the person. And I'm interested in architecture capable of generating strong memories, and that is achieved with a strong experience, which sometimes comes from the hand of a material. In this case, we want to create memories and a big impact that is different, that differences us from other architects.
All right. All right, that's the difference. That's the difference. You
That's right.
think, well, you think then that the architecture to limit is strengthening?
Without a doubt, yes.
Without a doubt. Okay. Well, I think we have two options in this point. We have more questions for you, or if you want, you can tell us one the most concerned thing about your kind of architecture. What do you prefer?
Well, I think we will choose the second choice,
All right.
and it will be that the price of the materials that we choose can be sometimes tricky or could bring difficulties to our buildings. And that's why, because we choose very few materials to impact the persons, but sometimes those materials may include um, some kind of techniques or different building techniques than the usual ones. But everything is part of constructing and forming these masterpieces that you can live inside them and you can interact with them. But that may be one of the things that could represent like a little like negative things in the process, in the design process. That's one.
Right. Well, I have I'm impressed about all of those.
Thank you
And
very
I
much.
I want to know, it's a personal question. I want to know, what do you think about the structure that you need in, for example, Mexico City? Because the air
Sure.
is really, really different about, in, for example, Spain.
Well, first of all, you have to have a study in engineering, so you will have to learn how to calculate the weight. The
Yeah.
weight is very specific and important when you are talking about a structure because you need to weigh the materials, the persons, the movement, including the movement, the air, the ecosystem also affects the structure. It could be rain or snow, or even though the hot weather could affect the structure, and you have to do a study. And in Mexico City, well, you can see that all the structures sometimes they like go a little bit down because of the floor, because it floats, and
Yes.
it's not a solid floor. So your structure usually in earthquakes will go down because the ground is not solid.
Perfect. It's a really perfect answer. Really perfect answer. And I need to answer one thing more, because I know
Sure.
you have a lot of knowledge to share with us. Um, what is your next step? For example, for your psychology, for your thinking, what is your next step in Mexico, for
All
example, or in
right.
the world?
Well, we've never had the idea to build in Mexico,
All right?
and it's still not in our plans, but it should be. But for our future in the company, we would like to put in action all that we've learned with the pandemic. And also, like in another interview, I talk about how we should be friends with the nature and to have like a balance with the structures and the nature, and to combine them and don't be like the strongest one, just to be in balance with the green areas and with the concrete areas. So that's what we are planning to do. We're planning to have a more ecological architecture.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm agree with you about that. And I think this is the kind of future thinking for the architecture, because you know, all these kind of structures in the big cities like Mexico cities,
Yes, it's
it's
a
a
jungle
disaster.
concrete.
But, well, I appreciate too much for your time and your time, Daniela. And well, see you soon.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much. See you soon too.
See you soon. All right. What do you think? Stop recording.